Speaking of touring, you've just come back from but it was a big one, right? Really long one.
Yeah, it was like 5.5, 6 weeks, something in the
Oh,
US.
nice. Supporting Ghost too, which
We,
is, I guess, is a bit different for you guys.
yeah, it was great shows and great tour in general, but it's kind of weird. Well, the weirdest thing is that we were doing the amphitheaters,
Hmm,
so that means a lot of people who's sitting down,
that's odd.
and it's really odd. And Ghost had a habit of like extending the stage with like a pier out into the pit, if you know what
Okay,
I mean.
like a little, yeah, like a
Uh,
little kind of mini
yeah,
Metallica style thing.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So that
Mm.
made the pit even smaller, and then it was like, I don't know, maybe 500 people in the pit, and then the rest were seated except for the lawn, up at the lawn.
And that's kind of from what I've said, that's outside of the covered over bit, right? So all the covered
Yeah,
over
pretty
bit is
much.
seated, and then you've got the cheap seats at the back where
Yeah,
all the people are
exactly. Yeah.
getting on and stuff. Yeah. Wow.
So that was a bit weird, but at least they had no excuse not to row in our song "Put Your Back Into the War." So that was a really good good upside to it.
That's true. You didn't have to get them to sit down; they were already sat down.
Yeah, and Big J told everyone, like, to everyone who's already sitting, you have no excuse, just fucking row, and they did. So that was amazing.
Wow, that's really cool. And as I mean, as you said in your message to me, I guess it was a very different crowd to your crowd. Or did it feel like a very different
Oh
crowd?
yeah,
Or it did. Okay. And did you
oh
feel
yeah.
like you
It,
were
it
kind of
felt it felt like we were the Beatles in the '60s, because there was mainly girls, like teenage
wow,
girls
interesting.
in the pit and the closest seated area. So
Wow.
as soon as I unplugged my ears, like for the last song or in between songs, you could just hear like it was so ear crushing. It was
Yeah.
overwhelming, that sound. It was insane, but it was cool.
And and we're
It's
not
it's
really
it's
used
a
to
lot
that being in
different.
hairy metal bands, aren't we?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
mostly big
For
hairy
us,
men.
normally it's just like sweaty guys.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you
Whoa,
were like,
yeah.
oh yeah, and now it was like,
Was it quite a nice challenge? Because I guess you guys since COVID, I guess since you come back, it's been mostly headline stuff or kind of big festivals that you were quite high up the bill or headlining the
yeah,
bill. And was it a nice
yeah, exactly.
challenge to kind of
This
do something a
was
bit different?
it was yeah, especially because, well, mainly because we only played 50 minutes now, so
Oh,
we don't
that's
have to
nice.
pull 1.5 hour. So that was kind of nice, but also
Yeah.
kind of weird because for me it takes like half an hour to get into the set.
Ah,
and
interesting. Interesting.
and now when we're playing 50 minutes, it's like, okay, half an hour, now I'm into it, and then it's like four more songs and then we're done. It's
Yeah.
feels like
Wow.
kind of
So
a short set, but
yeah, and that because you well, from my memory, because we toured together a year ago now, almost,
oh, is
which
it?
is
Oh
which is
shit.
terrifying, isn't it? How quickly time
Oh
flies.
yeah. Oh wow.
But yeah, I remember you're a big warmer upper. You warm up quite a lot. And
I do, yeah.
have you always done that? And do you always do that? Kind of is that kind of part of your routine, or is there some days you warm up more than other days?
Yeah, normally I warm up for a 90-minute show. I warm up 60 minutes. And
Damn.
it's just to get into it. You start slow and then you get faster and faster, so your legs are really in
Mm,
time, and you have some time to practice, like old like if you did some fuck ups on the previous show, then you can practice those during warm up.
mm.
And also, if you do a lot of fuck ups, then I normally uh, have like a practice session during the day as well, just
Ah, I
to
see. If you've had
just
like
to
a
have it
bad,
in the
quote unquote,
memory.
bad show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but you still find that it takes around half an hour ish into the set to fully get into that mode. To get into like, I'm
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah, I mean, not physically, I don't think, because I did
Mm.
1 hour of warm up, but
Yeah, of course.
maybe mentally on a bad day, and sometimes you just feel it from the beginning. You're in the zone from the first hit.
Mm.
But yeah, I would say like in general, like 20-30 minutes in, then when I'm feel I got this.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. It's kind of, and I'm gonna have to start asking people about this, but I don't know what the general rule is, but I'm kind of 4 songs, 3 or 4 songs, and it's like those first few songs, I don't know if you feel this, but it's kind of, even though you've played them a million times and it's the same thing, even if it's a slightly different set, you've normally played the songs a few times. There's this kind of weird, and even though it's your kit and all this kind of stuff, there's this weird like,
Yeah,
"Oh, this feels different." It's like,
yeah,
and like, "Don't mess up, don't mess up," but you're like, I haven't messed up, like, the last 2 weeks. Why am I still stressing out about it?"
yeah. And the
It's
more that you think of it, the more stressed you get, and it's like,
yeah, of
oh no,
course,
not
of course.
and now it's this feel. I don't know how to do it, and then you just
Yeah,
do it
yeah,
perfectly, and it's like, okay, that's fine, and then
yeah, yeah,
you
exactly,
just
and then by the 4th or 5th
why?
song, you're just like, "See, what was I stressed about? Why was I even worried?"
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
very odd, isn't it?
I've come to realize the more you think of the fact that you're gonna fuck up, the more you will fuck up. So just don't think. You just play it. Just start to
Yeah,
headbang a bit, and I don't know
yeah,
whatever you do
definitely.
to get into it, and then just it will come by itself by muscle memory probably. So
Yeah. Do you have things that, kind of distract you more than other things? Like, is there things that will make you stress out more than, like, for example, my thing is if there's someone who I respect as a drummer or a musician, much like yourself, and like say on that tour, if you were watching me side stage, or if Donald from Obituary or Dave from Cattle Decapitation, if I turned around and saw you guys, I'd be like, oh crap, and then I and then I just immediately mess up. Like stuff like that really throws me off. I have to just try not to look side stage. Is there anything like that for you that kind of messes you up?
for me, I think the thing you're talking about is that's an encouragement for me when I see my idols
Cool.
or people I look up to
That's
standing next to
cool.
me. And that's like, cool, I'm gonna fucking show them. I'm gonna do this, and we're gonna
Yeah,
play
that's
fast and
the
tight. So I want them to be like, wow. But
Yeah, that's a
my
healthy way of dealing with it, I think.
yeah, I think so. Like trying to push it. But my main stress factor in before a show is probably food. I think I have to eat at a
Ah,
certain time. I have like routines, so I have to have eaten at least 2 hours before the show, and then
okay.
I have a Red Bull like 40 minutes before, and Underberg 5 minutes before, and then
Yeah,
after dinner you have
classic.
to be able to use the bathroom, so you're flushed out, and
Yeah,
stuff like
and you
that.
have the
So
60-minute warm-up on top too, so you have to get that in as well. Think about
exactly,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
if you have the dinner too tight to the show, then you're gonna have harder to feel the show because you're full and you have been stressing out about it, and you had to do practice with a full stomach and everything, like warm up and
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah, absolutely.
that's yeah.
That's something that
Otherwise I'm fine.
how lo how long has that taken you to come up, like, how is that routine something that you've done for a while? And, like, how did you figure that out, that was one that worked for you? Was that just messing
I think it's
around and trying different things?
I think it started when I was playing soccer, European football for everyone who's watching. When I
Proper
played
football.
soccer when I was like 12, 13 years old, and then my coach said like to be able to perform at your best, you can't do it with a full stomach. You have to have time to digest it. And it's like, and then he said the 2 hour rule, and
Mm.
I've been holding on to it, and it works really well for me. So
Okay, so this is something that you didn't learn through drumming. It was something completely previously that you've brought into the drumming
yeah,
world, basically. Wow.
yeah,
Well, and it
because
makes sense because
it's still physical, so you can't stuff yourself with a, I don't know, 15-ounce steak and mashed potatoes, then hope you're gonna break the world record in sprinting. It doesn't work like that. You have to digest and feel it to.
Yeah. Well, I guess your body's taking up so much energy trying to process the food that if you then try and do something like playing, I don't know, 200 beats per minute consistent double bass for 5 minutes,
Oh, yeah.
then it's gonna be like, "What are you doing, man? I'm just trying to do this. I'm trying to sort this steak out." Like,
And now this? What the?
yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, that makes total sense. And do you have like on tour, well, on tour and at home, do you have a routine that you stick to, like not just before the show and whatever, like day to day? Like when you're on tour, do you try and stick to a routine? Like do you try and wake up at the same time? Do you try and do the same things? Or do you just kind of freestyle it?
I think I kind of freestyle it up until dinner.
Yeah.
Uh, Otherwise, I can do whatever, But
Mm,
the one really important thing for me, especially when you're touring like summertime, is to hydrate a lot. That's
okay.
because you you use all that for your muscles and your joints,
Mm.
and you don't want to end up with being dehydrated during a show because that's gonna fuck everything up pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever had any problems with cramping or anything like that, or you know, any
No,
injury
no,
style
never,
thing?
no,
Wow,
no.
man. See, you're just
Have you?
this is I've had cramping definitely, and I think it is from dehydration or not.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, we did after about 5 months after we did that tour with you guys, we did a
Hmm.
headliner with Municipal Waste, and it was in May, I believe it was, and it was starting to get really hot in some of the southern states, and we played in Florida, and it was an outdoor venue. It was it was brutal. It was
Yeah,
so hot all day. It was so hot. Even on the bus with the aircon, it was still it was still quite hot. And
yeah.
it was and that show, my right foot just completely cramped, like kind of
Oh,
about 4 songs from the end, like, it just kind of, like, and my calf just completely
yeah.
locked up, and I was, So and, I
Ow.
was yeah, and I'm pretty sure it was dehydration because it didn't really happen again, because it
Yeah,
was such a hot day, and it was just, you can't even walk 2 minutes before you're just sweating, so and
yeah.
I don't think I hydrated quite enough, and but yeah, it was crazy because it's never happened before, um
What did you do though? Did you play with your left foot or did you just fight it?
Yeah, I luckily we had like it was I think about 4 songs from the end, and we do 2 songs. We're doing 2 songs for an encore, so I had 2 songs of the actual set, and I just kind of powered through those, and it kind of it hurt for a for a few hours after the show because
Oh shit.
and then I came off and I told remember Boo Boo Josh drum
Hmm.
tech, yeah,
Yeah.
he was drum teching for me. I told him and he started like massaging my leg.
While
So it
you were
was
playing.
really no, this was as we came off for the encore, sorry.
Oh,
So we
right,
were just
right.
like, we were waiting to go back on for the encore, and I told him, and he was like, "Give me a leg," and he just started massaging my calves. So it was very rock and roll. And then I
Yeah.
kind of made it through the last couple of songs, but it was mostly I was trying to do more with my left leg and also kind of just powering through with my right leg. But yeah, it wasn't nice, and I think it was. There's no coincidence that it was the hottest show of the whole tour, and it was outside. So even at night,
Yeah.
it was it was boiling hot. Um, and because I don't know if you saw it, what's his name? Trey from Morbid Angel. He collapsed on stage
Oh, yeah.
at
Oh shit.
at that same venue, like a few weeks after us. So I think it's pretty notorious that that place is
Oh,
it's really really hot. It's Florida, I guess, and it's and it's an
yeah.
out. There's no air conditioning. That even the fans were just like blowing hot air at you. 'Cause it was
Oh,
just
that's horrible.
yeah. So it's we
I
don't have
hate that.
those problems
But
so much in Northern Europe, do we?
no, not really. No. We played in Phoenix on this tour with Ghost, and
Yeah.
it was 43 degrees
Oh
Celsius
my
outside.
god.
I took a
Oh my
screenshot of
god.
it.
Dude, that's insane. So wait,
Yeah,
this
it
was
was.
what are we now? Did you start in August or was it did it s yeah, did you start in August into September? I guess, or was it
Yeah,
all mostly
yeah,
August?
yeah. It was mostly August. I think came back home at like, September 11th. So
So, God, yeah. So you were actually in most of these places in the thick of summer, basically.
yeah, and we were kind of lucky, but still unlucky that we had to cancel 2 shows in Florida uh, because of the hurricane.
Oh
Uh,
crap! Yeah, I saw a lot of videos of people that were playing around those around when that stuff was happening. It looks very very brutal. So you actually had to cancel shows completely.
yeah, we
Damn.
played one show in what was it, Simpsonville, I think,
Mm,
which is just north of Jacksonville, and
mm.
then we uh, we had to cut short because it started raining so much. So we played
Wow.
3 songs, and then everything was covered in water, like the stage and drums and everything, because that
Wow.
specific venue didn't have a roof. So
Well, that doesn't help.
why not? You know?
Oh yeah, of course. I keep forgetting you were in amphitheaters, so you were outside. Yeah, of course. God, yeah,
Yeah,
that must have been pretty scary.
yeah. So that was a bit weird, and then we cut that one short, and then we canceled the upcoming 2 shows, which were supposed to be down in Florida, Jacksonville, and was it Tampa? I'm not sure.
Okay, okay. And they did
Yeah,
you do any off shows? Was it all with Ghost, or did you do any shows with
we did
just you
we
guys?
did two shows by our own in
Mm.
Omaha, and then the last one in Los Angeles at Riverside, so almost Los
Oh,
Angeles.
cool. No, very very cool. And yeah, and now you're home. Are you home for a little while? What's next?
What's next? We're going to Mexico in the beginning of November. I think it's like the 3rd or 4th. So we
Oh,
fly
is that the
there, like a short
Helen
trip to
Helen
Mexico.
Heaven festival?
Yeah, yeah. So we
Yeah,
fly
cool.
there real quick, and then we play for an hour, and then fly back home. So
See, there you go. You're
that's
doing
going
the
to be
fly in
interesting.
and out thing.
Yeah, but only
The
one,
longest
only one.
the longest the longest version of that, basically.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's a lot of great bands.
But yeah, so what does a day in the life at home look like for you? Because I guess you're gonna be at home for a while now. What's uh
Yeah.
what's going on? And again, do you have a routine at home? I mean, I guess you do because you got kids and stuff, so that kind of
Yeah.
dictates the routine.
That's true. That is true. Well, I normally wake up like 6 a.m.
Mm,
Then I make him ready for daycare or preschool or whatever you want to call it.
mm,
And I bring him there. I come home. I have breakfast. I sit here for a while, like 2 hours, maybe three.
mm,
Play some games or do whatever email work you have to do or anything. And then I
mm.
go drumming by like 10:30, 11, something. Uh, and then I pick him up by 3, and then it's just kids the entire day
Yeah,
later on.
until
So,
bedtime. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but now I have to like start practicing a bit again to maintain the stamina, you know. So
Mm,
so
mhm,
it's gonna change a bit. I'm gonna go drop him off, and then I'm gonna go straight to my studio and sit there until I have to get him at 3.
wow.
So
So you're gonna just do full-blown practice sessions as much as
yeah,
you can? Wow,
yeah, pretty
respect,
much.
man.
Sometimes when I feel like I don't want to do this, then I'm just start a stream, you know, so I can
Yeah.
interact with some fans or followers and stuff. So
Do you find that helps? That because obviously I know you do the for anyone who's listening and wants to check out Jocke on Twitch, then I'm guessing it's just twitch.tv/Jocke Wallgren. Is that right?
yeah,
Yeah. Go.
super
There
easy.
we go. Yeah. um, do you find that if you are in that, as you just said, like if you are in those moods, do you find doing a Twitch kind of gives you more of a reason to play and more of a kind of want to play in some ways?
Yeah, I think so because first of all, sometimes you take like requests, like people
Mm,
ask you to play this song and that song, and then you try, and it challenges you because you listen
mm,
to it and then you try to imitate just after one one playthrough of it,
mm,
and then they most likely ask for our songs, and that gives me an opportunity to practice those songs as well. That
mm.
maybe that songs you never play live or stuff like that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Deep
So
cuts.
it keeps your mind fresh a lot, and also it gives me like a really good interaction during the day, because otherwise all of my friends works, right? So they have normal day jobs, so I can't really interact with anyone during the day, you know,
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah,
except
definitely.
for I don't know, texting my fiance sometimes, or texting friends, you know.
Yeah,
But it's not like I hang out with anyone, because everyone has a job. So
yeah.
so it's a really nice way to interact with people as well, and not only
Mm.
sit by yourself and stare into this wall in front of the drums and just because that
Lose
does
the will
get
to live.
depressing sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I guess it's and as you said, that's for me, that's sometimes a struggle is when, as you know, when you're on tour, you're surrounded by people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
It's always noisy. There's no privacy, nothing. And then often you get home and it's silence, like complete
Yeah.
and utter silence. It's like so any way to try and get a little bit more of, because obviously the tour side of things is a little bit too much one way.
Yeah.
There's no privacy and there's no silence and there's nothing. But then when you get home, it's kind of almost way too much the other way. There's no
Yeah.
one. It's there's all you get is by yourself, and there's all that you've got too much privacy. Like it's just like,
Yeah. Where is everyone?
yeah, exactly. I want a couple of people at least. That like,
But when I started in Amon Amarth, my friend Simon, from my who plays guitar in my old band, he told me like, remember now, when you go on tour, it's super easy to go from 0 to 100, like 0 just being home and then 100 being on tour. But
mm,
it's really really hard to go from 100 down to 0 again. I
back
was
to
like, nah,
zero.
it's fine. I have my PlayStation, I have my PC and everything. And then I get home, it's like you sit there and you do nothing, and
Yeah.
it's so. And he was right. It was kind of hard actually, but
Mm, mm, yeah,
now I
and
come to terms with it, and it's kind of fine. But still, sometimes you want to have some kind of interaction, and
yeah,
you can only
absolutely.
visit your parents so many times a week. You know.
Yeah, that's so true. Do you find as well that having or trying to make some kind of routine when you get back is helps? Like, instead of just
Yeah.
freestyling like you do, on tour, as it were?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I think it's really important that you have at least like a start up routine. You have your breakfast. You wake up, you have your breakfast, or
Mm,
bring your kid to daycare, and then you can have a few hours of wing it time,
mm,
and then
mm.
it's back to routines. But I think, of course, it's really important to be able to do whatever you want, and maybe take some time and, I don't know, rebuild something at home and fix your car or whatever and stuff like that, then take care of business. But yeah, sometimes it's too much.
It's a little bit
Or
lonely.
too
Yeah.
less.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And, I don't know if you find this, but I find, uh, the because I'm the only guy in the band with kids. So when I come home, I don't really have a choice. And again, same with
Yeah.
you. I don't really have a choice to think about what time I wanna get up the next day and what I wanna do, and then and what I wanna do in the afternoon or the evening. It's kind of like, well, I have to wake up, I have to get them to school, or I have to wake up and we have to do something together as a family because it's the weekend or whatever. And then if it's the weekend, your whole day is just taken up by, you
Yeah.
know, looking after the kids or being with the kids. Or
My
if it
family, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or if they're at school, you know what you're doing in the morning, and then you've got this window to do what you want, and then at 3 o'clock again, boom, you got kids again. So it's almost kind of, I feel like it's better knowing that you've only got this small amount of time because you're like, oh, I really want to do that thing, but I have to do it in that time. Whereas if you just had infinite time, I think I'd go insane.
Oh yeah, probably me too. And nothing would be done because I will do it tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then 3 weeks go by and you're like, "Oh, crap, I'm going to Mexico in 2 days, and I haven't done anything."
I didn't even practice. What the fuck?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so speaking of practice, what would a good practice session look like for you? is it mostly playing songs? Is it kind of working on speed and stamina? Is it a mixture of all kinds of things?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixture. I think it's it all depends on the upcoming set list. I think, like,
Mm,
let's say when I'm let's say the touring cycle has ended, and then I know I have like a year or a year and a half to the next tour. Of course, you have to do stuff in between, like write an album and stuff. But for
mm,
practice, then you can focus on I don't know, specific things. But now when I have 4 weeks to the next show, and we already have the set list, I'm gonna dedicate 2 hours of playing that set list, which is that set list twice,
mhm,
and then the rest I'm gonna practice like stamina, dynamics, make even hits all around the
mhm.
kit, and ergonomics. I think because I feel in my lower back a bit now that I have to change something. I just don't know what. uh, and like technique, I'm in the learning process of learning like heel toe for double bass.
Ah,
So
okay.
I gotta focus like 45 to an hour every day on that,
Mm.
and yeah, stuff like that. I have my plan, and
Yeah,
if I make it or not, then you know,
yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
I'm not sure, but the plan is there at least.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, I mean, is that quite a common thing, like, when you're building up to a tour, will you play the set list back to back a couple of times?
Yeah,
Like, is that,
yeah,
like, and pretty much daily as well?
yeah. Because I want
Wow,
to
man,
have
that's cool.
I want to feel it in my spine. Like when this song is done, I know this one comes, and I know it's gonna be a 30-second break with samples in between and whatnot,
Mm,
or maybe Big J's just gonna talk, and then I want to be prepared. Like, is this the time where I drink, or is this the time where I wipe the sweat off my arms and legs or whatnot? I want to have the routine, you know.
yeah, okay, and that's, I guess, self-preservation so that when you're on stage, obviously you're still thinking, but you're thinking a lot less than you would be if you were like,
Yeah,
"Crap, what's next? Oh my god, I haven't practiced this properly," and yeah.
exactly. And then it circles back to what we said earlier, that if you think too much, not only for playing, but if you think like, oh, what's next, and then you get stressed out, and then that's the reason you're gonna fuck up. So
Mm,
the more flow you have in your show and in your mind, I think, then it's gonna be a lot easier as well.
yeah, and I think as well, like, it's that's when you can start actually enjoying it when you're not
Yeah.
thinking so much, and especially from a crowd perspective, and you guys have some unbelievable crowds. And I think, if you can't remove yourself from your own head and actually look out and be like, Jesus, look at these people, they're loving it and I'm loving it, and this is great. If all you're thinking is crap, don't mess up, what's next? Oh my God, then it's just going to be a horrible experience for everybody. So,
Yeah. Even though if you play perfectly, you're still gonna have the feeling of a shitty show, because you were like
mm,
you didn't get that you were actually playing. You know, you just sat there and did your job, and then there's no fun to it.
yeah, exactly. And you're too much in your own head. Yeah. And do you get that too?
Yeah.
I've spoken to loads of people about this. I don't know if we've spoken about it, but the amount of times you think you had a terrible show, but you filmed it, and then you watch it back and you think, actually, that was pretty good. And
Yeah, it
then
was pretty sick. Yeah.
and then the other way around as well, when you think you had a good show and you film it, and then you look back and you're like, oh God, that was terrible. But it just I think it really highlights mindset. Like when you're in a good mood and you're enjoying it, even if you're kinda crappy, you'll be like, "Yeah, that was great. That was a good show. I was happy with that."
Yeah.
But then the other way around, when you're in a negative mindset and you think that was terrible, and then you look it back, you're like, "Oh, no, actually, that was the best I've played in a little while." But but mentally, I was like, "This sucks. Oh, I hate this. Ugh." So it's really interesting how your mind can completely play tricks on you in that way. And, yeah, I guess it's if you can do as much as you can to mitigate that kind of stuff by practicing more, I guess. And I guess you guys, do you kind of have to keep the same set list because of all the production stuff and the lighting and the cues?
Well, we don't have to, but I think it's very appreciated. We have
Yeah.
to. I mean, for some, let's say we do an entire tour, and at some shows we cannot use the inflatable stone Vikings that we have.
Mm. They're so sick.
So maybe we don't do the songs that are attached to those Vikings.
Mm.
So then
Yeah,
we
yeah,
might
yeah.
switch it up. Even though, of
Okay.
course, that's just an example because we can't really take away Guardians of Asgard from the set because people would
Yeah.
riot probably. So
You might just have to change what you do on stage slightly just to just to be able to fit
yeah,
it in.
pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool, and as far as time off and not just practicing, is there is there plans to write new I guess there's always plans to write new music, but is that something that you'll be doing in time off, and how what does that process look like as well when you guys do write? How does that work?
Well, we're always in the process of making new music. Of course, it happens like on tour, at home, everywhere.
Mm,
Because ideas just pops up. Maybe not for me, but for the main songwriters.
mm,
uh, and how it works, I so far it has worked like they come up with riffs and melodies and songs, and I add the drums to it pretty much.
mm.
According to an idea they have,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
I say no, this sucks. You have to do this and this, or just this, and we yeah, like kind of pass the ball back and forth,
Mm.
and then we come up with something that we're both happy with, and then that's it. As far
Y
as drums are concerned, and
yeah.
then of course, since we never like rehearse like together, we never jam uh
You never
up until
rehearse
now.
together?
No, I mean sometimes we
That's
do
crazy.
like like I mean we have done it and we probably will, but it pretty much never,
Wow.
because I think we have this like we understand each other really well, like
Mm.
how we want to, and and yeah, so it comes by it just appears, the this,
Yeah.
it's hard it's hard to explain, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing because you guys are so tight as well, which is like you just assume that you're just practicing all the time. I mean, I know you guys don't sound check that much. I found that out on that tour on that tour that we did with you. But, yeah, I didn't realize it was practice too. That's incredible. So, I mean and I'm guessing it's like it's that trust that everybody is individually practicing by themselves
Yeah.
when they're at home, and then you all kinda come together and hope that it hope that it works out.
Yeah, but it kind of has to, it's the otherwise I don't think we would be here, especially not me because I'm the newest guy, but
Mm,
uh you play all these songs so many times, and it's the same with you, sometimes you don't have to play that song together because you played it a billion times already.
yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
so
yeah.
uh
Mm,
so for us, if we will get together and have like a jam session, then we would probably just play new stuff, new ideas, never old stuff, maybe for warm up,
mm,
but
mm.
just to have this band feeling, like a rehearsal room. uh
Old school, yeah.
yeah. But
And as
we actually discussed this on the last tour that we should probably do that more, just to feel it instead of have everything like this happens and this happens and then this happens in the song. We should probably have like a jam session where we try this part, and then, oh, you did that in there in that transition, maybe we could do like this, stuff like that. So
yeah, just to
we
see
all
what comes out a bit
kind
more
of
naturally.
exactly, yeah, we
Mm,
all kind of miss that, so we are thinking about doing that again.
yeah,
Would be
and
cool.
do you mean that's more for, like, writing new stuff generally? For, like, writing new album
Yeah.
stuff or whatever, actually seeing what it sounds like together in a room as opposed to just a demo or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. Because as soon as you get to a studio, then of course the producer has input to it as well,
Yeah,
and
of
then
course.
you feel like you are so programmed to play what you like programmed to the studio, to the demos, right?
Mm, mm.
So you're so focusing so much on that, and in my opinion, it kind of loses feeling because you don't want to improvise over it, because this is how it was written. This is how everyone
Yeah,
accepted it.
and
And
everyone's written their parts to that thing too. So if
exactly,
you
yeah,
if you change your bit, then they might wanna change that, and then it's a ripple effect. It's kind of
exactly, and that's what we would probably love to feel first, in a
mm,
jam session, just
mm,
to be able to, oh, let's see what this part sounds like in the studio, but keep it like this for now, and instead of like
yeah,
this.
yeah. And, like, when you're writing your drums, is it because I'm guessing a lot of the or all of the demos are programmed, I would assume. Is that how it normally works?
uh, in the end, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
let's say I get a minute of guitars from any guitarist in the band,
Mm.
then I just put it on loop in my studio and I play on top of it. And then I record that
Ah,
in different
okay.
takes to see what is actually more suiting, like when I get home, when you have some distance to it and not just in the zone. And you want to feel, okay, it plays like this. And I played 4 versions of it
Mm,
when I practice it. So which sounds best when you have some distance to it at home? Like you put it on here and then you listen to it. And it's like,
yeah, yeah,
no, maybe the next one. Maybe the next one. And
yeah.
then
And you can have stuff that feels fun and good to play, but then when you listen to it, not playing it, it's like, "Oh, that's a bit much."
yeah.
Yes, sometimes it's not about how it
Exactly, yeah.
feels, it's about how it sounds. Yeah, I totally get that. So you're
Yeah.
almost always going straight to acoustic drums and just kind of seeing what comes out a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Ah, that's really
Almost every
cool.
time. I mean, sometimes I don't know, if you have a cold, if you just don't want to play that day, then you sit here and program drums
Mm,
with
mm,
your
of
own
course.
idea at first, and then maybe you come to the students like, huh, that was lame, and then you just redo it.
Yeah, you come up with something much cooler. Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
But
because
it is
you feel it by then. So
yeah, yeah, of course, but a lot of it is on an acoustic kit, just kind of trying a bunch of different stuff. That's your
yes,
process, is it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In the beginning, yeah, and then when we decide on something, then I program it as I played it. So
Ah, okay, and then it gets more solidified, and then yeah, and that's how it goes. That's cool. And
yeah.
do you often have do you have rules in your head when you're writing drums? Like, do you always try and make it not the same, that's the wrong word. Do you try and keep a similar thing that you've been doing for the last few albums? Do you try and do stuff that you've never done before? Or is it kind of a mixture of everything? Are you trying to keep it Amon Amarth, you know,
Oh yeah,
and
of
not
course, yeah.
and not deviate too far from that? Or do you try and because like the fill as I
Oh
guess
yeah.
you still call it the fill, which I still haven't been able to learn properly. That's a serious piece of that's a serious fill. And like those kinds of things, are you trying to kind of push yourself where you're allowed to? Or do you like to just keep things kind of fun and a bit more simple or does it all depend, I guess? That's a long question, sorry.
It all depends. Like the first album I recorded with Amon Amarth, that was the album after the Phil album,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
by then I felt like I could probably overplay it a bit just to like
Mm.
show myself,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
a
yeah.
new guy in the band. And then I did it, and now when I listen to it, it sounds fine. Maybe a bit overplayed at some point. And then for the next album, I felt like I'm gonna just be more mellow, just
I've proved
don't
myself.
push it
I
too
don't
hard.
need to yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and now I feel like for the next album, I already have a lot of ideas written down, well, played, recorded at my studio laptop, and I feel like I'm gonna be more. Oh, how do you say it? You always try to serve the song, right?
Of course, yeah.
And but I wanna serve the riff more at this time.
Okay.
I want to do
individually
like,
almost. Yeah.
yeah, of course, most likely it's going to be like this is a verse riff, this is a chorus riff, but then you can you can have like four different transitions to the part coming after the riff every time, into the
Mm.
chorus or into the bridge or whatever. It doesn't have to be like, okay, the first time I played Tugga 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 Tugga, and so I have to play Tugga 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 the next
Yeah,
time. You can
exactly,
just play
exactly.
Tugga Tugga Tun 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 instead, and then
Yeah, yeah,
so it becomes like an eye opener for the audience. And I did that in this song called "Put Your Back into the Oar," the rowing
yeah,
song.
yeah. Love
There
that song.
are three choruses in that song, and I did three different transitions to the chorus, and I think it gives more of a flow instead of this static
Yeah,
organized
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
thing.
And the even the kind of the groove, the main groove in that song, it is just do ga. But every now and again,
Yeah,
you kind of, you push the snare, don't you? Every now and again to accent and just those tiny little things, even though they're really simple.
yeah,
Conceptually, they're really simple. They completely change the feel. Like if you just did ga do ga like the whole time with absolutely no, like AC/DC, Phil Rudd style.
yeah,
That would have been cool, but the fact that you throw in a couple of little, you move the snare slightly every now and again to accent the guitars and stuff, like, it's great, and I
yeah.
think
And
that
then
and
you,
the those little nuggets are the things that really make it pop, even though it's so
yeah,
simple.
of course, yeah. And I like that, and that's why in that song I implemented like an open hi-hat on the one instead of just
Yeah, yeah.
just like like a,
Yeah,
oh sorry, in the 4.5 to
yeah,
one,
then
yeah.
the cats. Yeah, 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 and
and
it's
when you listen to it, it feels a lot more fluent than just
the whole time. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and
like every AC/DC song.
Is it yeah, nothing against AC/DC because obviously it works. It absolutely works. But, yeah, and I think it's almost subconscious things, and it's stuff I think that unless you're a drummer or unless you're a nerd musician or another musician, it's those things that an audience sometimes probably won't even notice, and that it'll just go completely but it'll make them be like, "Oh, yeah, this is," it'll make them feel like it's more interesting or groovy, but they won't know why, and it's all these tiny little layers that,
Yeah,
we spend days thinking about or weeks thinking
exactly.
about, and all it is
Could
a
be
one
anything.
open hi-hat. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, or two kicks in a 16 note matter, like
Yeah,
into
yeah, yeah, exactly.
into the snare, and people will still feel like "duh, da, duh, da," and then they realize, oh, it's the drag of those two double kicks, "Dun-dun,"
Yeah,
that makes them
yeah,
fall
exactly.
into
Yeah,
it.
exactly, exactly. See? We're geniuses, man, basically, as well. It's all up here. It's all so yeah, oh, that's cool. That's really cool that it's kind of again, a lot of people I speak to, it's kind of mostly programmed these days, or if it's not programmed, it's sorry, if they don't program it, it's programmed by a guitar player, and they're kind of, and that's a lot of my experience too, is that you're kind of trying to make something from a terribly programmed drum track that some guitar
Yeah,
player thinks, like 7 crashes all at the same time whilst playing a blast beat or something. That kind
yeah,
of stuff.
and
You're
then the
trying to
cowbell
decipher.
in
Yeah,
32
exactly.
48. It's like, what the
Exactly. You're trying to decipher what they actually want. So, the fact that you can kind of immediately get onto an acoustic kit and try and figure stuff out, that's really cool, and I guess that, and again, it helps in the long term because then you're not learning someone else's part, you're actually making the part, and therefore,
yeah.
it's already ingrained in you, which is got, or hopefully anyway.
Yeah, but of course, then if they programmed a nice drum part that I would play by myself per default, even if I wouldn't even have heard it before, then and it end up being the same, then of course I just put my touch to it, and then but it still keeps the same beat and stuff like that. So
But yeah, speaking of being the new guy, which you, well, not the new guy, you're not the new guy anymore, you're the newer guy. Um,
yeah,
what's the story of how you got in the band? And I know I've heard this story before, and for anybody, well, nobody will know this, but we've already recorded this podcast once. But
Twice,
my in
didn't we?
did we do it twice?
Yeah, I think
Maybe
so. Yeah.
was it twice? Oh my god. Uh, that's
Or
even
was it?
worse.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Um,
Whatever.
we talked. I wanted to do it. I did. Yeah, I wanted to do it in person when we were on that tour, but for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. So anyway, we're finally doing it again, which is amazing. And thank you again for taking the time. But my internet connection was so bad at that point. I don't know what went on, but it was unusable. And I was trying to edit it down to the bits that were usable. And I edited it for like 4 hours, and it was just like, this is pointless. There's just it was jumping from like one topic just wildly to another topic out of nowhere because I had to cut out like 15 minutes where it was just so hopefully this is better. But anyway, I'm rambling now. But yeah, so how did you become the new guy? Like what was the lead up and all that stuff? What was the story? How did you get the job?
Well, I'm gonna go from all the way from the beginning.
Yes,
In
please do.
2015, they parted way with their previous drummer, and I had told my colleagues at work that 2016 is gonna be my year, and another guy that I knew who was playing drums as well. We said this is gonna be our year, like, sorry, the end of 15. So we said that 16 is gonna be our year.
Mm,
And then, yeah, they parted way with their former drummer, and I was like, okay, cool. I have to do some videos online, so they can see me, right?
mm.
So I will be out there for them. Even though I was like, probably not. They're gonna pick some other famous drummer, stuff like that. And then,
You never know. You have to try. That's the main
yeah, of
thing.
course, of course. And then, of course, I did those 3 recordings, and don't try to find them, guys. They're not online anymore. uh, yeah, so I did that. I put them out on YouTube, and then I was like, but how will they see them? So I
Mm,
asked around, and my guitar player in my old band, Simon, he said that he knew Johan Söderberg, our one guitar player.
mm,
He knew him a bit, so he sent the links to him, and Johan said, "Yeah, this guy looks great, but we're gonna try someone we already know."
mm,
I was like, "Okay, cool, that's fine, that's fair." So they did, and they ended up recording the Joms Viking album with Tobias Gustafsson
mm,
from Vomitor.
mm,
And for different reasons, after a while, Tobias couldn't do this extended touring thing. So uh, they asked him, like, "Do you know someone who's a good guy who knows how to play the drums, and we can socialize with as well?" And I know Tobias since many years back, and he recommended me. So it came full circle again.
wow, that's
And
cool.
then they looked at my videos, and Johan said, "Oh, I already seen this guy." And then, yeah, I got an email from them saying, "Hey man, we need to talk," pretty much. And I was like,
Wow. Is this it? Is this the time?
"Yeah,
Oh,
yeah."
that's
And
cool.
then we did 3 auditions, because they explained, like, uh, this is what's up ahead. We're gonna do a small promotion tour, only like 4 shows in Europe, and it's not gonna be a big audience. It's gonna be like 400 to 800 people, just like promotion for this album. I was like, "Whoa, that's bigger than my previous shows,"
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
That might not be
so for
big for
me,
you,
oh
but yeah.
yeah, 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 for sure. And then there was an 8-week US tour after that.
Wow.
Um, so they were like, "Yeah, we need to know that you can play all these songs, and yeah, be away for that kind of time, right?" And I said, "Don't worry, I will nail the songs, and being away from home is fine. I just had my fiance, no kids or anything by then, so that was fine."
Mm,
And yeah, the first audition was 3 songs, and then we met 1 week later, and then by then they had asked me to learn 10 songs, or 11 maybe. I was like, yeah, sure, fine. And took I talked to my employer at the Swedish post office by then and said like, hey, this might be my chance to do what I want to do.
Mm.
So I'm gonna ask for a week off just to practice. He was like, "Fuck yeah, man, go ahead, do what you need to.
That's
I will
cool.
fix the paperwork. Doesn't matter." And I was like,
Wow.
"Great, thank you." And then we did 10 show audition, and then they said like, "Yeah, in 2 weeks we need you to have learned the entire set list and some extra songs." And that was like 24 songs, I think.
Oh my
I was
god.
like, "Oh shit, okay, cool." And then I took some vacation days of work. Um, and then I we played all those 24 shows in my studio, sorry, 24 songs in my studio. And then they decided, yeah, you're gonna come with us for this promotion tour and this 8 week US tour. Cool, let's do
Wow.
it. And then afterwards they said, yeah, you're in. I was like,
Wow.
cool.
So the
So I
so
came,
the first two
so I came
tours were
back to
like an
my
audition thing? Sorry.
yeah, pretty much like a trial
Yeah, yeah. Probation
period. Yeah,
period, as it were. Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
yeah. And then I came back to my yeah, came back home after those 8 weeks, and I came back to my job because I just figured like I gotta at least go in there and tell them I quit, you know. So I
Yeah, yeah.
put on my outfit, and because that was my first day back, you know, after vacations and everything.
Mm.
And my boss stood like he was almost waiting for me to come back. He was like, "How did it go?"
That's
Yeah,
really cool.
I got it. I'm gonna play with them from now on. Okay, so when do you wanna when do you wanna quit? I was like, I don't know, 8 weeks ago, probably, you know.
As
And
of
then they
now?
told me, okay, yeah, and then he said, okay, cool. I will just put your like resignation 8 weeks back, and then you know I got salary for 1.5 month extra and stuff like that. So he supported me all the way, and then that was
That's
probably
killer.
a good you know good thing because I didn't have to stress about it and everything. So
Yeah,
during those eight,
absolutely. I guess that would have been a much bigger stress for you if you had some horrible boss who was trying to have a go at you for all this kind of stuff too.
yeah, exactly. And then you have to come back from a great US tour, and then you have to work 2 months because that's the contract or whatever, you know. And
Yeah,
he was like,
yeah,
"Okay, yes, 2 months ago. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna put it in the
yeah.
papers."
That's killer. So it was kind of like you could just so were you work at, did you say, at the post office?
Yeah, I was delivering packages with a big car like UPS does and stuff like that. So
Ah, okay, so you could just hang up your bag and you were gone. Pick up the
pretty much,
sticks.
yeah, just yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool.
And
And
that was that was groundbreaking because then I could just wake up the next day and just like, oh, I don't need to go to the
yeah,
post office.
I'm a
Super cool.
drummer
And then
now.
I just yeah, for real.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's interesting that you said that it was like a conscious thing. You knew that if you made some videos and then you tried to get them to see it. Like
Yeah,
I think that's again just kind of helpful things for people that might be listening if they're trying to get into bands or whatever. I think being visible, I guess is the word. Well, firstly, you got to be good. Like,
oh yeah.
you can't just cut out that bit. Unfortunately, like you got to be you got to be able to do the stuff. But also being visible is really important, isn't it? I think it's kind of because you can be the best drummer in the world, but if no one knows you're the best drummer in the world, then you're not the best drummer in the world.
Exactly. You don't
So you,
exist pretty much.
yeah, exactly. You're not even a drummer to most people. So, so being able to be visible, and it is much easier to be visible these days than I think it's ever been. Obviously, for
Oh
for
yeah.
various reasons. Um, and but I think as well being honestly visible, as in, you know, put up videos of yourself that is honest. Try not to be too, you know, quantized and beat detectived and
Oh
sound
yeah, yeah, for
replacing.
sure.
I think it's because that's ultimately, yes, it looks good on Instagram and stuff, but then if you ever get into a real life situation, and then people ask you to be in their band, and then you go for an audition, and you can't actually play that stuff as good as you did on YouTube, then you're not gonna have a fun time.
No, it's gonna be horrible. Everyone's
Yeah.
gonna be disappointed, and you're gonna feel like shit afterwards as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, a short-term kind of morale boost of editing your stuff just to put it on Instagram, long term won't be very good for you because then, when
No.
you actually play with other musicians, they'll be like, "Ah, this guy sucks."
I mean, if you're gonna be like an Instagram drummer, then I think it's fine. Of course, you can't have your foot camera. You do 8 notes, and then it sounds like 32 notes. You know, you can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it has to be somewhat tight, of course. But of course, I in my opinion, like sound replacement is fine because you still play
Mm.
it, right?
Yeah,
But as long
exactly.
as it's when you play it and the uh, dynamics of it, then it's
Mm.
fine. Not just like, yeah, look at me doing blast beats in fucking 3 billion BPMs, and every hit sounds like,
Ba, 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 ba. Yeah. Every hit's
yeah,
a rim shot. Yeah.
yeah. It doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. But, and so you learned 11 songs initially, and then you had 2 weeks to learn the others, and that was 24 in total.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that's still not that much time, dude, to learn that many songs. What was your song learning process at that point? Did you just listen to it over and over and over and over again, or do you make notes? Are you like a note maker? Or yeah, how do you learn songs, and how did you learn them that quickly too?
Well, first of all, I had the entire day. Like I didn't have
True.
any kids to attend. I could wake up at 8. I could be in my studio by 10. I could sit there until 10
Yeah,
again.
true.
You know, like I could just focus on that.
Mm,
And also, since I've been, well, doing 24 songs wasn't really hard after already know 11. So that only means I have to learn the rest, because I already
yeah,
had
yeah, yeah.
11 in the bag.
It wasn't
So
24 whole songs in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's true.
exactly, yeah. And also, since I've been, and I think this really helped. And I told this story on my streams a bit, like the process of learning songs. From some people write notes, right? Like first it's verse, then it's, I don't know, post verse or pre-chorus, and then it's chorus, and then they write everything down line by line. But I find it really hard to do that because you listen to a song, and then you could pause it, and then you can write, and then you can play it, and then you can write.
Mm,
But you can't like read it that fast when you're playing it.
yeah,
Oh, is it
especially
times
one
4?
step ahead.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
times 2.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so on. So I have like a roadmap in my head. Well, I had, because working at the post office, you have to learn your district, right? So your area of delivery, pretty much.
Mm,
And then, okay, if I need to go there, I need to take a right here, and then a left, and then a right. So that was my way of learning songs too. Like you start here, the goal is over here. That's the end of the song, right?
mm, mm.
So okay, first you go through the intro, and then you have to turn right, or I associated every song with a different like street or area geographically,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
where my delivery district was.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense. So it's like a route,
so I
like a driving route,
yeah,
basically,
exactly, yeah,
memorizing a driving route. Yeah.
exactly. And all the songs were different goals, like this different yeah, like companies or persons, where I had to deliver the end of the song. And I knew, okay, I have to go there, and I have to go there, and this song, okay, that's over there, so we go there.
That's a bit of a longer one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And do you get that from you got that from just kind of listening to it and playing it so much that you kind of, imagined these routes. It wasn't so much, right, I need to go right and then I need to go left, writing it down, and it was more just storing it in your brain as these, as you say, kind of like you do when you naturally drive somewhere. Like
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
the way to your parents' house or the way to the supermarket. You don't think, "No, I need to turn left. No, I need to go on the roundabout."
Yeah,
You
what does
just
the
kind
note
of
says?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess it's a much more natural way of learning it. So it's just kind of becomes second nature, as it were.
Yeah, and I think that's sometimes you have like an airy part, like a very fluent, maybe ambient part. Then of course you have to go up on a hill where there are some trees, and then you can like see oversee the area and kind of stuff, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's cool, man. I like that. I've never heard that one before. That's really cool. But it makes
yeah,
total
I,
sense.
I think it does. Yeah, when you hear it like this, but when you're in the process of making that, some people, well, most people don't have like so many different. Um, endpoints. Like you if you go up, if you need to learn 50 songs, right, then
Mm.
you maybe can't figure out like, okay, it's a supermarket, it's my parent house, it's my fiance's mother, it's the electronic store, it's IKEA, it's, and then it's like
Yeah,
you
you
can't
start
come up
running
with
out of
50 of
places.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
true.
for me, who had the delivery job, that was no problem, because on one day you could easily go to like 60, 70, and then the next
Wow,
day it's
really?
it's
Gosh.
maybe 60, 70, and the only 20 are the same, like everyday stops.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
you had like in total maybe like 600 different stops you could go to, and so it
Jesus.
was really easy to pick out like where to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Did they have to be memorized too? Or did I guess you had GPS and stuff, but was it I guess would it make it easier if it was all memorized, your stops when you were working at the for the post office?
Oh yeah, it's a lot easier if you just know it, because otherwise you have to take up your phone. It's like, no, this street number 18, okay, and I put
Mm.
it back, and then you have to look there all the time. But now
It's
you
like
can
looking at
just,
the notes whilst you're playing the song, isn't it? It's the same thing. It makes it
exactly, yeah,
all
and it's horrible,
yeah, yeah. Well,
in
you're
my
never
opinion.
I
Yeah,
again, it goes back to what we were saying, I guess, at the start. You're never in the moment if you're constantly worrying about what's next on the sheet or, whatever. What's the next note? What's the next but oh, I can't quite read that bit. What does it actually say? Then you're never actually in the moment feeling what the song feels like, which I think
exactly.
I don't know if you get this, but I definitely um when it's the way I learn songs, I'll make it short, but I can't write stuff either. It's really distracting. I What I have to do is I drive around, I'll just drive for ages, and I just play. Normally, I'll try and do like 2 songs at a time or something, if I'm trying to learn completely new songs, and, I just put those songs on repeat, and I'll just drive, just in circles, not anywhere specific, I'll just drive, and, it's for some reason, it's the only way that works for me, and I think it's because there's no distractions. I think when you're in a
Yeah,
car, it's almost like, there's nothing else you can do apart from drive. So it's kind of, whereas at home it's like, oh, I got the washing, or I've got the, oh, well, there's a new email, or all these things.
yeah,
So there's always a distraction. Whereas driving, it's kind of completely cut off. So, but I find, and it's just listening and listening and listening and listening and listening until you get to the point where you can sing it without the music. You can sing all the riffs and sing all the parts. But I don't know if you feel that like this because your process is kind of similar. I It's hard to explain, but I can feel when a part's coming, you know?
yeah,
I don't necessarily have to be like, "Okay, it's the next part now," or, "Okay, it's this riff now," or this ri it's kind of like I guess it's like because, music kind of a attaches itself to emotion and whatever. It's a feeling. You're like, "Oh, okay, let's go," and then, then you know what to do. You kinda go into it, and I don't know if it's because of that process that, that we use, which is a little bit more natural, as it were. I don't know,
yeah,
or maybe
yeah.
people that learn it from the notes and learn it, they eventually get to that point. I'm not sure, but but yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I've never
But
heard.
I think it also has to do with, the one who is making those riffs, and you know him in person, you can
True.
understand the thought of it.
Yeah, true, true. The logic or lack of
Exactly, yeah.
logic sometimes depends on the person, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
But still, you have like a connection there,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
because
That's true.
he expresses himself, or she, doesn't matter,
Mhm.
expresses themselves with the music, and since you know them, you know how they normally express themselves.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's easy
yeah.
to understand because you know the guy or girl.
Yeah, yeah. I also think too, I don't know if you feel this, but as someone who listens to, all of us do listen to a lot of music, a huge amount of music,
Hmm.
especially metal music, various types of metal music. there's not that there's rules, because there are some bands and some artists and stuff that follow very specific rules, verse, chorus, all that kind of thing. But even in bands that don't have that so much, there's things that make sense. Do you know what I mean? There's melodies that follow each other that make sense. There's
Hmm.
sections that follow each other that make sense. And I think when you listen to music, I remember speaking to Walter from he's now in Opeth now, about
Yeah.
this, that it's almost like learning a language, obviously as I haven't, because all I speak is English, but like most English people, but but I would assume it's like when you learn a language, it comes to a point where it's almost second nature, and you know where someone's going to go before they even say it. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like finishing a sentence. You don't know
Yeah.
exactly what they might say, but you kind of know the rough ballpark that they're gonna say it in, or what it's going to be about, or how, that kind of thing. And I feel like music's the same, especially metal music, because I guess we know it so well. It's sometimes you don't necessarily have to exactly know what the part is, but you just know, like, okay, yeah, I knew that they were going to go there, and that makes total sense, and I already kind of instinctively know what to do. Which is, I
Yeah.
don't know if that makes any sense. Again, I'm just rambling, but
Yeah, yeah, it does, and again, it's the chemistry you have, I think.
yeah,
So
true, true, true. Yeah, I hadn't thought about the chemistry aspect. Yeah, you know that person, and you know the previous songs they've made as well, and all that stuff.
yeah, and also it sometimes just happens when you're listening to random music as well, because you're so into that group or into that specific genre.
Mm,
You
mm.
you know that, okay, this is normally the recipe, so it's probably going to happen again. Oh, and yeah, and this band always put an extra
Yeah,
half of a
yeah,
bar, like
yeah,
silent drum fill, and then okay, I know that, stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and sometimes if it's done well, even though you know it's coming, sometimes you're just like, yes,
Yeah,
it was done
look,
perfectly.
goosebumps,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I knew it was coming, but it was still great. It's like going on a roller coaster for like the fifth time. You know what's going to happen, but it's still great.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see the hill where you're going over. Ah.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh God, yeah. So practice for you then. That's the next steps, is it?
That's the
Just
next step. Yeah.
hardcore practice. Is there anything that you specific? I know you're saying about heel toe. Is there anything else specifically that's kind of on your horizon that you really want to master or try and improve?
Maybe push some BPM limits,
Mm,
for the feet. Just to, I always like to be in front of what I have to perform, like, right. So if our
yeah,
fastest
yeah.
song is like 205, then I have to be able to play 215. So
Mm,
205 feels easier,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
uh,
Absolutely.
and stuff like that. I always focus on breaking the drumsticks on the snare because I do rim shots all the time, and
Literally everything is a rim shot with you, isn't it? Or it seems like that.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, and I will try to be more creative as well. That's my goal for the next album as well. So I'm practicing that now with the old
Mm,
songs, like, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that,
mm.
and even songs I didn't record for them. I could just try to evolve those songs, like make them more interesting for me, in a different way that they were recorded and stuff like that. So
Mm. Yeah,
just to trying to be more creative.
yeah, and stop getting bored during shows. I don't know if that happens to you, but
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah,
when you've played a
especially in
song
songs you
700
played.
times.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's we have this part in Pursuit of Vikings, which we play almost every show. We didn't play it on the Ghost tour though, but for
Did
almost
you not? Wow.
uh
Yeah, I assumed that was the song, that everybody everybody needs to hear.
yeah, it got downvoted when because it was such a short set. We had to like cut
Yeah, of
some songs,
course.
of course.
And it's
But
not your
anyway,
kind of
in
normal crowd too, so you could get rid of it, which is nice, I'm sure.
yeah, so in that song, there's just a part that goes feels like forever for me, but it's really not. It's really not. But I just keep the same beats, and it's with the 60 notes over 2/4, like
Yeah.
and then I at one part in that small, it's like only a bar. I think
Mm.
I go to 16 triplets with the rides, and
Okay. Yeah.
it just adds to it, and it doesn't have to follow the riff. It just doesn't have to do anything except for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't get
Exactly.
bored playing that.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's the joy of live, isn't it? Is that you can do these things
Yeah,
on a whim, just for a bar or 2 bars or whatever, and then it's gone.
yeah,
It's not a big deal.
yeah.
It's just kinda, that's made me feel better."
That felt good. Yeah, and of
Yeah.
course you're gonna have the guitar players be like, "What
Oh,
the
dude,
fuck?"
yeah.
Yeah, but
Immediately just, I remember
sorry,
I had
I'm in the
one,
mood. I'm in the mood.
yeah, yeah, "I'm enjoying myself, leave me alone."
Yeah.
I had one, I remember one festival, I can't remember where it was, but it was I think it was Heartwork, which is it's the kind of, the carcass version of Pursuit of Vikings. Where if we don't play that, people will boo and throw stuff at. It's the song, and played it so many times. And there was this one show where kind of toward is the last song on the set too. So kind of towards the end of it, I was just heavily improvising and like adding fills in. And Jeff, our singer, turned around and walked up to me and he just shouted, "Stop it!" And I was like, "Oh God, I didn't realize you would notice that much." I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I've gone a bit too far with this one."
Stop.
Yeah, he was
It's funny
literally like, "Stop
how I
it,
can
like,
see
you're
his
putting me off."
face. I can see his face from the
Bright red.
perspective as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It was totally putting him off. He told me afterwards, he was like, "You're putting me off, I didn't know where we were." "Sorry, man, I was just having some fun." But this is why we have to play for the song, right?
Yeah.
Going back to that rubbish. We're only allowed to have so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, we can have fun, but, you know.
We
I
still
I
have to
I I
anchor it
I
all.
yeah, I even thought about, like, adding some blast beats to one of our songs live,
That
uh,
would be sick.
on the Ghost Tour, because I was like, "Oh, now it's this song again," at some point. And then I practiced the song on my warm-up kit with, and it was only gonna be for, like, 2 quarters or something in
Mm,
a bar.
mm.
And I was like, "Yeah, this sounds cool." Instead of doing like a drrrr, I just like ta 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 ta, and then doing the drrrr.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and then when I was there in the song, and then I just forgot what I was doing. Well, what I was practicing. So I did that feel too early, and then I started too early for the next bar, and then I
Oh, no.
realized I'm off, and the other guys were the song were supposed to be, and then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait like 2 quarters extra, so
Oh
I'm
my
going back
god.
into it again.
Oh, no.
I don't think anyone in the audience noticed, but
No, no,
I
but
did, and I was
still.
like,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
And was that, do you think, because you were overthinking again and trying to, maybe trying to put something extra in or something, and you were like, "Ah," and then it just
Yeah,
all went
yeah,
wrong?
I think so. And improvising in all its glory, it's fine, but don't practice on improvising, because then
No,
it's gonna,
exactly, exactly,
yeah,
just do it. Yeah, don't be like,
yeah, just
"Oh,
do
there's
it.
that
Yeah,
there's that thing I just thought about doing, like, it's coming up, it's coming up,
yeah,
it's coming, I've missed it."
yeah.
And now
And
I'm
I
and
fucked
now
up.
I'm messed up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just gotta do it. Just gotta do it and hope for the
Oh yeah, yeah,
best. Don't
yeah.
don't think
Don't think
about
about it. Just yeah.
it. Oh
It's
god,
the same
yeah.
as the first kill field. If you think about it too much, then you're gonna fuck it up, because it's
I can
yeah,
imagine that, and I can imagine again for you, it has to just be second nature now, or first nature, I don't know what you say it, but it's just in you, and you get
yeah.
if you start thinking about each individual section, then it's kind of I think I even remember when you were showing it to me, I think, and this is the case, I think, all the time, when someone says to you, "Oh, what's that thing you play?" And then you have to try and slow it down, and you just can't,
Yeah.
because you're like you're so used to just playing it in the one way that you play it, and then you're like, "Oh, wait, hang on, I think it's a right. No, wait, hang on, wait, give me a minute, I'll figure out what I'm
Yeah.
playing." But if you play it full
Come back
speed, you're
tomorrow.
like, "Yeah, it's fine." Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, because it becomes such, second nature, that when you are told to break it down and split it apart, you're like, I don't actually know what it is. I just do it."
This is how it is.
Yeah,
Yes, but can you
exactly.
slow it down? No.
Yeah, just take a video and then slow it down yourself and figure it out, like,
Yeah.
that'll be much easier for me, thanks.
Exactly. Okay, thanks,
Oh,
bye.
yeah. Yeah, great teaching, great teaching.
Yeah. Speaking of teaching, did you try or do you do online lesson stuff?
I have done before, yeah, I did some,
Mhm.
in-person lessons while when we were on tour last as well in the US,
Oh, shit.
which was that was really good fun actually, yeah, just same like you, I got like a little practice kit and,
Mhm.
just did a bunch of kind of lessons. It was like more freestyle stuff, so it was they just gave me a couple of things that they wanted to learn, or wanted to work on, and it was, obviously normally double bass, everybody wants double bass. Are you thinking about doing something?
I have done it before.
Ah,
Uh,
cool, okay.
so I just ask people like, what do you want to practice on? And of course, it has to be
Mm.
metal stuff, right? Or at
Yeah, of
least
course.
rock. I I
Y
I
Right.
can't for shit tell them how to groove because I'm not a groovy person myself. So I just said like, you want to improvise your kick drums? I can show you. I have foot cams and everything,
Mm,
and just like show you and how to sit and like, do you want to know this song or whatever? And they tell me like, hey, I want to improvise. I want to improve my whatever. And then I just
yeah,
tell
yeah.
them what I do. It doesn't have to be the correct way, but at least what I do, and they normally uh, are happy to see maybe not the correct version, but a version that works for me, so it might as well work for them. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing I noticed about you as well, generally from watching you play, obviously a lot now since our last tour, was you're very relaxed, or you seem very relaxed. I don't know if you feel relaxed, but you have a shit ton of power. Like, and I remember when we did the last podcast, we hadn't actually met in person before, and
No.
I'd only ever seen videos of you, and I think it's really hard to get a sense of from videos. It's really hard to get a sense of power, I think, and it's really hard to get a sense of
Oh yeah.
how someone hits drums until you actually see them in person. And you were talking about it earlier about dynamics and making sure your kit, your hits were consistent. And like, is that something that you really work on? And again, sorry, going back to the relaxed thing, do you try and stay relaxed and at the same time, are you also trying to hit as hard as you can? Because it seems like those 2 things somehow you've got those 2 things down really well, which I think it's for me, it's really hard to do, I find anyway, so
But I think that hitting really hard comes from being relaxed. You know,
Okay, yeah, I see
do
what
you
you
get it?
mean. Yeah.
Because if you sit weird and you put a lot of energy just to keep your back straight or whatever angle you want to have on your back, and then you want to keep your feet going at 190 maybe, and then if you don't know how to do that relaxed, then there's no way you're going to be able to play on top relaxed either, because
Mhm.
all the force and energy goes to your legs and core to keep you
Mm.
upright, for instance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you don't have any energy or focus left to uh, to do the top part.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so I have a really good seat and a position in the way I'm sitting, of course, and that keeps me relaxed, and I have everything within reach. So I feel relaxed, you know, and
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
I know the songs, I know what comes for the next part and
Exactly.
stuff like
As we
that.
said,
So
that helps, all that stuff
yeah,
helps. Mm,
so you don't have to think too much about that either.
mm, yeah.
So being relaxed,
It's
sit nice, have your feet at a good position, being able to play more than you should, you know,
yeah,
faster or
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
more
Having that
powerful.
headroom, yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
yeah.
Always
I
be ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's like it's kind of what's that motion called? Like the molar motion where you do like the whip, like
Yeah.
that. That is you get so much more power out of that, but your body is so much more relaxed than if you tensed your entire arm and just went. Ugh. You know?
Yeah.
So and it's, it is like it's like cracking a whip, isn't it? It's kind of like and I guess that's a good, example of how being relaxed actually makes you hit harder, and it makes the drum sound better too. Because if
Yeah.
you are just, doing that it sounds terrible. I don't know if you ever tried that thing where you
Oh, yeah, I
really
tried it.
try and you try and hit as hard as you possibly can, and it just sounds terrible. Like,
Yeah,
it's not
you just gotta
musical at
kill
all.
the resonance or everything. You're just gonna sound like you're
Exactly,
hitting a
and then your back
piece of wood.
hurts, and it just sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, so I guess it intuitively, it's kind of it only really works if you are relaxed, and if you can get those motions, I guess, fluid and, confident, then you can get a lot of power whilst still being relaxed all at the same time, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
that's it.
being relaxed leads to me hitting hard, I think.
Yeah, that may and
Yeah.
mentally being relaxed too, as you say, from
Oh,
learning
yeah.
the songs. Yeah,
And
that because yeah,
that
you
that
tense up,
that's
don't you,
another
if you
part of
if
my
you are
warm-up.
stressed?
Sorry?
You tense up a lot when you're stressed too, don't you? If you're unconsciously you tense up. So I think it's being
Yeah,
able to be relaxed.
mainly up here, in the shoulders. You try to,
Mm.
I don't know, get more focused, and then you, like, put your head forward and
Yeah, lean in more. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, you were going to say another part of your warm up.
yeah, another part of my warm-up is I have the physical preparation, and then I have the mental preparation as well. I
Mm.
mean, not every day nowadays, but in the beginning I did this a lot, like for every show. Now I only do it when I feel like I'm having a bad day or might need to catch up on the previous bad day.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, so I sit down all alone, maybe lie in my bunk in the bed, sorry, in the bus, and then just listen to some music, and I visualize myself like, today I'm gonna fucking nail everything. I'm gonna do this feel right. I'm gonna hit all the symbols in the right way. Everything's gonna be so tight. It's gonna sound like I'm in real life quantized. Uh,
Quantize in real life.
I Yeah, I'm gonna feel every hi hat hit's gonna be nice. All the ride hits, the splash, the shyness, the crashes, and I visualize myself going off stage from the very last song, and the vision is like, when I do that, I will feel that I have had the best show of my life.
Mhm.
And then your brain sets to it, and it makes it happen. But you also have to do this 2.5 hours before the show. Otherwise, your mind can't process it. So you can't do it just before you go on stage,
Interesting.
because that's too short of a time. You have to do it 2.5 hours before.
And I guess just before the show, you're in that you can't really focus on too much because you kind of got a little bit. You got that adrenaline. You've got the kind of woo, you're trying to warm up. You're trying to get nothing in your brain so that you can go on stage. And yeah, that's interesting.
Exactly.
So
And
and
that
that's
and
something
that,
you
and that
try and
vision
do
has
every
to be
day.
there already. Sorry?
Yeah, yeah, that's something you try and do with your warm up. Every day pretty much.
Almost every day, yeah.
That's cool, man. Again, I've never
Yeah.
really heard of that before. Mental warm up,
And,
but and it makes so much sense.
yeah, and it comes from me being afraid of getting stage fright when I started in the band.
Okay.
Like, because I only played smaller shows before with my old band. Well, not
Mm.
smaller, but yeah, not always super big shows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And now, when I knew I was gonna play for thousands of people every night, I just didn't want to end up with, like, getting all locked up because
Stiff.
you're scared.
Mm.
Yeah. So I was like, how do I prepare for this? And I researched it. I found a really good, uh, like a thesis, maybe it's called,
What, sorry?
online, like a thesis, like someone who
Oh, yeah.
makes like
Yeah,
a,
of course.
yeah.
Mm.
And I read it, and it was like 20 pages or something about mental preparation and stage fright for musicians in the performing industry.
Mm.
So it was really, yeah, it spoke to me, and
Yeah.
and I took it from there, and it works really, really well.
Wow. That's really cool. I don't know if you know, there's a book called, it started as a sports book, funnily enough. It's called The Inner Game. The Inner Game? I think it's called The Inner Game of Music is the music version, but it's basically the same principles, but it's mostly aimed at classical musicians, but it works for especially especially our kind of music, which is very physical. But and
Hmm.
it basically says, you know, that only about 40% of performance, maybe even a little bit less than that, is the physical side of things, and everything else is mental.
Yeah.
And as we've discussed before, you know, you can be in a terrible mood and play the best gig of your life, and you think it's the worst gig you've ever played, and then it's only when you look back on it and you think, "Wow, I was sick," you know. But in that moment,
Yeah.
you thought you were the worst drummer ever. And it's yeah, but and again, I don't think people are talking enough about that. I've never even thought about it, even though I've read this book. You know, I've never
No.
even thought about
Oh shit.
getting mentally prepared before a show. No, I only ever think about it physically. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really
But
interesting. I'm going to try that, dude. I'm going to try that this weekend.
yeah, and
That's
just
sick.
some music tips. Uh,
Mm,
you should listen to like soundtracks. So there's not like no drums in that
yeah,
music. It should only
of
be
course.
like ambient or movie soundtrack, just epic stuff, you know. And then
Yeah,
you can find
and no
that
lyrics,
point.
I guess either. No words.
Exactly, yeah.
Mm,
Nothing to
mm,
focus on, just some good intense ambience for your mind. And then you can find some point where the music peaks, and that's you should try to visualize yourself at the end of the show. That's the part where you stick your drum sticks
yeah,
in the air,
freaking
and
did it,
everyone's
man.
like,
Yeah,
"Ah, yeah!"
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
that's the peak of the performance and the song as well. So
That is very cool. Very, very cool. And again, something I'd never really thought about and something I wasn't expecting as an answer. As an answer. So that's really cool. That's really cool. But yeah, it's and again, I
yeah,
think it's so true. I think it's so true that so much of what we do is mental, even though it is horrendously physical as well. But
yeah,
you know, you can turn yourself into having the worst show ever just by talking to yourself in the wrong way in your head. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah, I actually read about that on the US tour.
mm,
That the way you speak of yourself should never be negative, especially if you're performing stuff. Like you should
mm.
never tell yourself, "Oh, I'm a shitty drummer. I fucking suck at this fill." And stuff like
Yeah.
that. You should never do that
Oh,
because
here it
words.
comes. I never get it right. Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, and you should never
Yeah.
talk to yourself about yourself in front of other people in that way because, or not even
I
think it, because
see.
words are apparently really really strong. So
Yeah. I've heard about that too. It's almost like conditioning, isn't it? It's like subliminal conditioning. If you keep telling people that you suck at something, then
yeah,
in your head every time you come to do that thing, you'll be like, "Well, yeah, I mean, I suck at it." Everybody knows I suck
yeah,
at it because you told them.
yeah,
Like,
exactly, yeah.
so
I mean,
yeah, cool.
of course, you shouldn't go the other way around and just start bragging
No,
about how good
I'm the
you're
best.
doing
Yeah.
this fill. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So somewhere in the
say
middle.
nothing or compliment yourself. That's it.
Yeah, 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 exactly. That's the classic one, isn't it? And I have to catch myself sometimes. I don't know about you, where they say, you know, speak to yourself as if you were speaking to a good friend. You know,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be like, "The fuck is wrong with you, you idiot? You suck." You know? Or maybe you would. I don't know what friendships are like for some people. You'd probably maybe say it as a joke, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, but then your mind will know that, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's some deep stuff, man. I like it. We've got deep on this one.
Yeah.
Right, so as you probably remember, and you've already done this quiz before, but it's just a either or thing. Like, what do you prefer? So I'll just give you two or three things, and you have to tell me what your favorite is between all those. Uh,
Dun 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 dun. Is it
exactly.
random things?
Kind of. Yeah. Some things are music. Some things are like food. Some things are other stuff. And then also right at the end, this is going to be a new thing because I don't know if it's a new season, but I'm trying to start the podcast again to do as many podcasts as I can. It's been like a year since I've done a podcast, so you were the last podcast I did, I guess. So that's
Oh
quite
shit.
funny.
Yeah.
So that was whenever that was. That was before we toured together, so that was probably
Yeah.
about a year ago, just over a year ago.
Yeah.
So and obviously it never got released. So so, so yeah, a new thing that I'm trying to do is I want each guest to ask a question to the next guest without knowing what the next guest is. So just
Mm.
like so make a question basically, and then I'll ask it to the next guest, and they won't know that it came from you, and you won't know who it's going to. So, if that makes any
Did
sense.
yeah, but did I get a question from the previous one or no?
Well, I've made you a question.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. We got to
But
start somewhere.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's yeah, my question might not be as good as the question you asked for the next person, but but still. Cool. Right, so let's get going with the quiz. If you're okay to do the quiz, that is.
I am, of course. Yeah,
Nothing controversial, nothing controversial. Right, so coffee or tea? Simple.
tea.
Ooh, no coffee. Do you not like coffee at all? Or are you just more of a tea guy?
I do like coffee, but I prefer a nice cup of warm tea instead.
Is that breakfast tea or fruit tea or various
No,
teas?
it's always Earl Grey English breakfast. That's
Ooh, nice, nice. Do you have it with milk or
that's my
just black?
no, just black. Yeah,
Ooh, that's hardcore.
is it?
Yeah,
It's
well,
just
everybody has milk in their tea in England, so unless no, I
oh
don't think
yeah,
anybody. Yeah, I don't really know anyone that doesn't have milk. Yeah, it's a real thing. Yeah,
oh
milk and
wow,
tea and sugar a lot of the time as well. Um,
what?
you know we're weird with food.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
So okay, so tea. The next one is chips or chocolate, and I mean chips in the everywhere else but the UK sense because we call fries chips, but I mean crisps. You know, chips, 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 chips or chocolate. What would you prefer?
chips.
Oh wow, okay. So you're not a sweet tooth guy.
I am, but I'm more of a salt thing, I think.
Okay. Do you like
But
salted licorice?
I do, yes.
Oh,
Especially if you're having a nice whiskey, then that's a really good combination.
wow, that's interesting. Never knew that. Sorry, you were going to say something there.
Yeah, it depends. But if I have like a bowl of chips or a bowl or a bar of chocolate, then I would go for the chips.
Wow, that's interesting. Cool. Okay. And yeah, it's salted licorice and whiskey. That's I would have never thought that would work, but
It's
that's
really good,
interesting.
actually. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting. Is salted licorice? I know that's a Scandinavian thing generally. Is it from one specific country more than another, as far as you're aware? Like, is it more
I
of a Norwegian
think
thing, or more of a Swedish thing, or more of a whatever?
I think it's more of a Finnish thing. I
Ah,
think
okay, okay,
I'm not sure, but
but it's definitely a Northern European.
yes.
Yeah. Remember the first time I had it in Denmark when I was playing for Aborted. I thought it was, like gummy bears.
Oh.
Just like regular gummy bears. So I took a handful and just, and it was salted licorice and I was almost sick. Because I was expecting,
Wow.
that sweet sugary taste.
Oh
And it
man.
was very much the opposite of the sweet sugar because I didn't know what it was. I was only like 18 or something. I'd never seen it before. Because as far as I'm aware, you can't really get it in the UK. I'm sure you can in some kind of Scandinavian shops or something, but it's not a common
Yeah,
thing that you can buy
tax
in the
free
UK. So
probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Right. So tea and then chips. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Yeah, 100%.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's winter is nice and beautiful and really playful and everything, but it's so inconvenient with the snow and you're wet and
Yeah.
cold and
Dark.
yeah, I don't mind the darkness so much. That's probably the best part of winter, but summer, you can just walk out on the on your estate. I don't have an estate, I
Yeah.
just have a yard, uh but you can just walk outside like in like flip flops and shorts, and that's it. You don't need to prepare yourself or the kid
Yeah,
for
that's true.
25 minutes and stuff like that. So
Yeah, you can literally just walk out, not even shoes sometimes, like just out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
And if
true.
it's too hot, you can just go inside.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
if it
it's
if
true.
it's if it's too cold outside, yes, you can go inside too, but you're still going to be wet and you have to get your clothes ready, and you have to hang them up and
Mm, mm,
undress your kid and take care of all of his stuff, and it's
yeah,
just a hassle. And then you have to move, like shovel the driveway and get rid of the snow from your car and
yeah. I know
stuff
what you
like that.
mean.
It's
You can never fully get properly warm, can you, when it's like in the middle of, especially in Scandinavia, I'm sure it's cold in the UK, but it's even colder in Sweden. So
yeah,
like you can never properly get properly warm, I find. You're always slightly cold. There's always that cold fit, even if you're indoors and the heating's on, you're still aware that it's cold everywhere. Like,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I prefer summer for sure, and it's
yeah.
the nature is more beautiful as well, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, yeah, the grays and browns aren't quite as beautiful as like, the multiple colors of of summer. That's very true.
Especially for us, because like 100 meters that way, it's just a big forest that leads down to an old, like not Viking, but medieval medieval castle ruins, you know.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
and then we have a lot of sea nearby, so it's really nice going there in the summer. Of course, in the winter too, but then it's cold and it's wet.
Yeah, and it's wet and you've got to put all the things we just explained. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a bit of a positivity in summer, isn't there, that you don't just kind of you wake up like,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah, yeah.
what a beautiful day.
Mm.
Let's do something nice."
Yeah, there's hope.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh god, it's very true. Right, so, yeah, summer and winter, and then Coke or Pepsi? Or I don't know if you drink
Coke,
either. Yeah, that's the
Coke,
right answer.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you'll drink Pepsi if there's Pepsi, but
Nah, I mean, if there isn't Coke, then there is no Sprite, there is no Fanta. Like in a restaurant, they don't have, they
oh,
have
that's
either
true, it's all
or.
the same thing, isn't it? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so if there's no Coke, then I don't go for Pepsi. I would probably just have a 7 Up or whatever
yeah.
orange
Okay.
substitute they have. So
Wow, so if it was Pepsi, you'd say you wouldn't want it. You'd just have a completely different drink.
yeah,
Wow. Okay, cool. So you're a real Coke fan. I respect that.
I mean, I still don't have anything against Pepsi because it's a major brand. It tastes good, but I
Yeah,
just prefer something else. You know,
yeah. I know what you mean. I'm
I,
with you.
I I I can drink Pepsi if I have to, but Coke
If
for
if
sure.
I'm forced at gunpoint, then I'll do it.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna be like, oh no, shoot me.
Yeah,
It's gonna be like,
yeah,
okay,
exactly. I'd rather be killed than drink Pepsi. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so this was originally a two-part one, but Dirk from Megadeth not made me change it, but he made me realize there is actually a third one. So it's now a three-part one. Beach, countryside, or city? Which do you prefer?
Countryside.
Ah, okay. Like, and I get you live in the countryside. Is that essentially what you're saying, or not far from the countryside?
Not really. No, I just live in the outskirts of a decent suburb, if you will.
Okay.
So this is like literally the third street to the end of the suburb, and then there's just woods.
Oh, cool, cool. So you are within close distance of some kind of nature and
Oh
niceness.
yeah, yeah,
It's not just
niceness.
it's not just sirens and horns and people shouting at each other like in the city.
Oh no way, no way. I hate the stress of the big city. I hate the boredom and heat of the beach. So
Mm,
countryside is perfect. And
yeah, that's cool.
I'm a big fan of like uh, open fields with like a single tree in it. That's the
Yeah,
best view.
yeah, yeah, with like some rolling hills or something. Yeah, very
Oh
nice.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, moving on to some musicy stuff now. Club show or festival? This is from a playing perspective and also from a watching a show perspective. So if we do playing first, what would you rather play, a club show or
Okay,
a nice venue or a festival?
I would probably choose festival.
Okay, interesting.
As an
Nice.
artist, I
Yeah.
love playing at festivals. because there's so much more to it. There are bigger
Mhm,
backstage, there are more bands around, more people,
mhm.
better hangout options and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Uh, Probably better food in the
Yes,
catering.
that's true. There'll be multiple options at least normally normally
Yeah,
at a festival, yeah.
but for me being in the audience, I would probably prefer a club show
Mm, that makes sense to me. That makes sense. And I
because
guess
it's
as well,
more intimate.
yeah, and I feel like you guys well, you guys get great crowds everywhere, it seems to me anyway. But, your music just translates so well in a festival setting. I feel like that, there must be something really magic about being on one of those massive stages and everybody's rowing or everybody's,
Yeah.
singing along and all that stuff, which is I'm sure that's a really kind of special experience, which I'm sure you still get in clubs, but it's when it's on that scale, I'm sure it's just like, whoa, this is insane.
Yeah, especially in those songs where we have the hey, hey,
Yeah, of
hey,
course.
because it goes like
Yeah.
a wave because because of the how the sound travels, right?
Mm.
So people 200 meters away for a festival, they will do it half a second later than the guys in front.
Yeah, of course, of
So it's kind
course.
of a ripple effect, like
Yeah, yeah,
or the
yeah, like a
hands.
Mexican wave of
Yeah.
haze. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, cool. No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, festivals
How about
tend
you?
to be um I'd probably go both club, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But that would be with Carcass because festivals don't really work so well for us. I think
Okay.
I think it's a difference. I think it's a musical difference there. A lot of our music isn't necessarily made to be played in front of loads of people. As weird as that sounds. And there's a real if we play in a really good club or a good theatre or something, there's a real magic about because it's because a lot of it's quite fast and blasty and all that stuff. I feel like a lot of it can get lost, especially when we're on a big festival stage.
Hmm.
I love being at festivals. Absolutely, as you said, for the exact reasons. It feels like an event. There's loads of people food's good, all that stuff. That stuff's great. But as far as playing it with Carcass, it's never as good as a club show. Whereas when I played with Heaven Shall Burn, I probably would have said the other way around. I probably would have said
Okay.
the same as you probably because again, I think the Heaven Shall Burn music is a lot more. It's made for it's a lot of haze and all that same kind of thing. So yeah, but I think
Yeah.
right now with Carcass, I think it would be club show all the way. But yeah, so there you go. But yeah, it depends. If I play with someone else, then I might, you know, someone who's more festival orientated, then maybe I'll be like, yeah, definitely festivals, yes. Right, next one. Okay, Slayer or Metallica?
Slayer.
Yes, that's. I mean, there's no right answers, but that's the right answer.
No, there is a right answer, and I
Yeah.
just told you.
And you just said what it was. Yeah, exactly. I'm
Yeah.
assuming are you a fan of both? I'm assuming though. Are you a fan of both bands or not really?
No, I never cared for Metallica my entire life. Never.
Wow, interesting. Okay. So
I
there was
have,
never a
for
moment when you
instance,
got into them.
I have no, I've never heard one full album by Metallica.
Wow,
Never.
interesting. That's really interesting. Cool. But Slayer, you got it. It's just you got into
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It was one of those things. Yeah.
Slayer is great in so
Yeah,
many
I
ways.
agree. It is. I agree.
But I mean, no disrespect to Metallica, they make good music probably, and but it's just
Probably.
like, yeah, there was one guy when I grew up. He was like super hardcore Metallica fan. Always walked around with his jeans vest with Metallica covered all over the place. And as soon as he started talking music with him, he was like, "Yeah, but Metallica, blah 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 blah," and Metallica did this. They were the first doing that, and it's just like, for this reason only, I'm just never gonna listen to Metallica in my entire life.
Because I don't wanna be this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or I
Wow.
don't want anything in my life remind me of this guy, so I'm just gonna stay out of. if I hear someone talking about Metallica over here, I just like, okay, no, I just take a detour and
Yeah,
go this way.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's funny because that all that guy wanted to do was just show people how great Metallica were, and he obviously did the
yeah,
opposite.
yeah.
He pushed people
Fuck
away
that
from
guy.
Metallica. Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. So yeah, Slayer. I mean, yeah, and the thing that gets me with Slayer is considering how big they, well, I guess were. Obviously, they're not around anymore, but considering how big they were, they're so extreme. Even till the end, they were
Yeah,
so extreme. Like Metallica is obviously heavy, but it's not heavy in the same way. Neither is Megadeth. Obviously, Megadeth's a lot more kind of, um, I guess, softer. I don't know if that's the right word, but uh, Slayer's so extreme,
yeah.
and it was, and they were,
And they
one
have
of the
always
biggest
been.
bands ever. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. They've never kind of, you know, given up on that extra. There was a couple of albums that you could argue weren't necessarily quite as heavy, maybe, but still, if you compared it to Megadeth or Metallica or even Anthrax, like they've always been so much heavier,
Oh yeah.
and they just
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
didn't quit in being extreme. Maybe that's why they're the only band that aren't around. It was just too much. They couldn't be that extreme anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, we played this beat for 40 years now, so
Yeah, yeah.
we're not gonna do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But that being said, too, I feel like you guys consider it. Funnily enough, I was speaking to Charlie about this from Arch Enemy that, uh, firstly, Sweden is taking over the world in metal. I guess, yeah, I guess Ghost is still a metal band, aren't they? But you know, you guys, Ghost, Sabaton, Meshuggah, Arch Enemy, I guess, arguably as well, because they're still mostly Swedish. Um,
In Flames.
in Flames, exactly. It's like, chill out, Sweden. Like, give the rest of us a
Yeah.
chance. So there's obviously something in the water, I think, over there. But and Ghost, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite amazing. Can you put your finger on why? Like, why do you think Sweden is such a big hub for metal? Have you ever really thought about it?
Maybe because we had ABBA and then we need to turn it around a bit.
Make it a little bit more hardcore.
Yeah. No, I honestly don't know.
Yeah, it's quite amazing, isn't it? It's really amazing. But yeah, I was going to say, considering how big you guys are as well, you're still a very extreme band. Like you are what I would consider a death metal band still, obviously with different themes, I guess, than a lot of death metal bands, with the Viking stuff as opposed to the corpses and blah, 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 all that normal stuff. But um, it's not a lot of those other bands that I mentioned, aside from Sugar, I guess. Um, they've definitely taken more of a kind of mainstream, approach to making music. Whereas I feel like you guys have just nope, we're a death metal band. And we're not gonna have clean singing, and we're still gonna have double kick, and it's still gonna be heavy, and it's like, and so it's amazing. I think that you guys have managed to not have to sacrifice any of that, heaviness, I guess, as it were. In a as we're speaking about Slayer, it's a
Yeah.
similar kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think we're more of a mid-tempo death metal, if you can say that, but
Mm,
we're always try to, you know, serve the riff. You can't
yeah,
just
go circling back
come
to
up with a
that. Yeah,
good riff and then just no, we're gonna make it faster. That doesn't work.
yeah,
You have to
yeah.
if it's a good song, then it's a good song. If and the same with the riff. If it's a good riff, then it's a good riff. Why just try to push it all the time? It
Yeah,
has
yeah.
to be some kind of integrity to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think again that's the thing that, and I don't know if this is in the plans in the future, but again, so far you guys have never kind of you've always kind of, even though the riffs are catchy, definitely, and a lot of the vocal stuff is catchy, it's still rooted in quite extreme metal, I think. Even though, again, as you say, it's mid-paced and all that kind of stuff. You've never really the band has never really taken that left turn and gone, like, oh, we should have a acoustic song with clean singing, or
Yeah, good
uh,
luck.
yeah, exactly. So, and I think that's really cool. I think it's really impressive, that it's kind of It's you know, you can be as big as you guys are and still be a band that has no clean singing. It's still heavy, chunky riffs. It's still double bass, and it's all that stuff. So I think it's really cool. Anyway, that was another tangent. I like to go off on tangents. Anyway, what we okay. So yes, next question. I forgot we were even doing the quiz, but uh, this again. These are questions that I try and ask everybody, and I know that you, especially Amon Amarth, isn't quite so blast beat orientated, but blast beats or groove, and
Ooh,
that can be playing, and that can also be listening to. So
I probably prefer blast beat.
wow, cool. Is that both playing and listening,
Yeah,
or wow, that's cool. Okay.
mainly because I've been playing black metal all my life up until Amon Amarth.
Hmm.
So that was like, if you
Yeah.
don't know what's
Yeah.
happening right now, just fucking blast away.
Yeah.
That's fine. uh, and also, it's more fun to play than groove. And once again, to the story is that I am not a groovy player. I know how to keep a 4x4, 6x8, and whatnot, but I can never do like shuffle things. I can never
Mm, mm,
stay out of the pocket. I need to be,
yeah, on the pocket all the time.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well, I mean, again, from seeing it, I think you definitely do have groove. I think it's kind of, um, yeah, I'd say you've got a great groove. You bring a lot of groove to the band, I feel. Genuinely, I honestly think like you have groove. Maybe you don't consider
Thank
yourself a
you. Thank
groove drummer, but the band definitely has groove, and I feel that's because of you. Because well, I mean, who else is it coming from? I guess.
Okay. Okay, so maybe there are different kinds of grooves then. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
like
maybe, yeah,
for me, a groove, that's when I'm watching all these pop drummers on Instagram.
yeah.
That's groovy as fuck,
I know what you mean. That's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
level 7,000 groove, isn't it?
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
maybe I'm a little metal groovy then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah. I think you're right. As you said, there's different types of groove, and metal definitely has a groove. You know, obviously, flipping Pantera or whatever, but um, yeah. And within metal, you have much more groove than a lot of a lot of metal drummers
What?
from
No
my
way.
from my experience. Yeah, yeah. I
Oh wow.
definitely think that's and again, and this is the thing from not being able to see yourself outside of yourself, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah,
I was lucky enough and have watched you a bunch of times, and it's especially in the slower, groovier songs, there's definitely a lot of groove. Um,
but you have groove.
well, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, you do.
That's
Yeah, yeah. You're way
that's
ahead of me. That's
that's
for sure.
something I've been working on a lot. To be fair, it's something I've focused on since joining Carcass. It's something I've really tried to get better at because again, I think generally it's not really on the plate as a metal drummer a lot of the time traditionally. Whereas Bill, our guitar player, he's just steeped in 70s groove, 70s like classic rock and funk and soul and all that stuff, and that's
Hmm.
loves that stuff. And his riffs kind of are a lot like that. And I was a bit like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to try and get a little bit better at this to to try and keep up with him. So, but it's a real constant. It's constant like anything. It's a constant struggle, and it's a constant. Something you really have to be conscious of. But it's yeah. Again, I wouldn't consider that I have groove anywhere near close to what I would consider is groovy. Do you know? Do you know what I
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
mean? I guess in the same way that you said about like these pop drummers or whatever, you just watch them, you're like, oh Jesus, like I don't even know how you get that groovy.
Yeah, and all those church drummers, it's
Yeah, the
impossible.
gospel drummers. Yeah,
Uh,
oh my
oh
god,
yeah,
dude. Yeah, that's a lifetime of work, I think, isn't it?
yeah, and
Um,
they're 16. Everyone I'm watching is like, oh fuck, yeah,
yeah, yeah. I just won't even try. Like, there's no point.
yeah, yeah. I'll just go play computer games instead. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah, and ignore it and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, so still, yeah, so blast beats, you think more fun to play,
Oh
and
yeah.
generally you like listening to blast beats a lot as well.
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
But if I have to choose between that and groove, then
Okay,
blast beats. Yeah.
okay, okay, blast beats, cool, okay. Now this one's pretty obvious, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. Rack or stands?
Oh, rack, of course,
Have you ever
of
had
course.
stands? I guess probably
I
not in
have,
Amon
yeah.
Amarth.
No, not in Amon Amarth. I had my first two drum kits were with stands, and
Okay.
then my second one, I switched up to a rack because it just became so many symbols after a while, and they don't fit, and if they fit, they lose balance and shit like that,
Yeah.
and it was a
Yeah.
hassle to take with you to the studio, and it's like, is this the 18 crash or the 17 crash? I don't know, and it's wrong, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have to readjust everything. But with rack,
Mm,
it's just three pieces or four, and then just put it together, and it's there. It only fits
yeah.
one way, and it's already
Mm,
set up. So,
yeah,
and of course,
absolutely.
it's more sturdy, and you can add stuff to it, stuff
Yeah,
like
and
that.
it's easier to add stuff. It's easier to if you're not sharing it with anybody, obviously, which thankfully you don't have to do these days. But yeah, it's always the same. But
Yeah,
do you ever get days when it feels different? Like I've always because I've never really used a rack before. Is it do you ever get days when you sit down and you're like, "Oh, this feels a bit different," or is that no? Does that not happen?
there was one day on the last on the Ghost Tour that happened, and I was like, but it was only like one symbol that was a bit off. And I asked my drum tech afterwards, like, yeah, the shine I felt a bit different today. It felt like far away. No, I set it up like I always do, and it did. But then we talked about it, and he was like, ah, yeah, but I was in there making adjustments to like the trigger, like the way it clamps to the kick drum or something.
Yeah.
And then when he got up, he accidentally touched the
Oh, he knocked it.
extended bar of it, and it turned a bit away a bit.
Wow,
And
that's amazing.
but otherwise it's always feels the same.
Wow. Okay. So that's a good sales pitch for a rack, everybody who's listening.
Yes, it's always the same.
It's always the same, and that is true about the
Always
stands, isn't it? Even if you have memory locks on them, I find that it never feels the same with stands.
the same.
Like
Yeah,
because for whatever reason, I don't know if you pack the way they're packed away, so there's always just why is this slightly different than it was yesterday? Yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird with stands.
yeah, but it's
But
so many factors with the stands, because normally you have like two extendable parts, right?
mm,
Like one down there, and then it's the next one, and then the boom arm comes probably.
yeah, yeah,
So if one is slightly loose, and then you just put it down, and then put some other stands on top of it, then the first extension might slip a bit because of the
true.
weight of the others, and then all of a sudden it's like nothing makes sense anymore.
Yeah, or it gets kicked by accident. One of the tripods gets kicked and it gets shifted out the way or whatever. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
There's more things to move, isn't there? Yeah, that's true. That's true. So racks, man, racks are the way.
yeah, you should get one.
Yeah, I know. I do have one here actually, my Tama one, but I rarely use racks when I'm touring. But that's sometimes because I often strike my kit or share kits, which isn't ideal. But it is one of those things that sometimes has to be done. Um,
Yeah,
and that's where racks become a nightmare is when you have to share them or if you have to strike your kit because it's like, well, it's not so bad if you have to strike your kit to be fair, but sometimes people that are helping you bring the rack back onto stage and they lift it the wrong way and everything slips or they unscrew one part of it and it all falls. It's no,
yeah.
just let me do it. So which doesn't happen quite so much with stands, so it's kind of yeah, I feel like there's if you can keep your rack on stage and only you are using it, it's 100% the best thing ever. um
Yeah,
but if you've
for
got to
sure.
share it or do what I said before, then it can be. It's still not that bad. I'm kind of making it sound worse than it actually is. Anyway, okay. So rack, obviously, it also looks very metal. So which is cool.
It does,
Rack.
yeah.
Um, so last one of these quiz ones, and again, I think I know the answer to this one, but I ask everyone the same ones: two kicks or double pedal.
Two kicks
Okay, and have you ever
with
played in double pedal?
with two single pedals. Two kicks with two
Two.
single pedals.
There you go. There
You
you go.
can never, well, you should never, and if you do, I will judge you a bit if you're using two kick drums with a double pedal to
With
one
a
kick
double
drum.
pedal. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
true.
will. I will. I will give you
Just
my
get
bad
rid of that.
eye.
Just get rid of that second kick. I know people do it for looks and stuff, but just get rid of that
Yeah,
second kick drum. Who are you fooling?
exactly. Yeah. You're still
Just
using triggers anyway, so you might just trigger the other
exactly.
one, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And just be
Yeah.
honest with us. Just start.
Yeah,
It's like putting a mask on.
exactly. Who does that? I
Yeah,
mean, except for two of the most successful bands in the
I
world,
was
but
gonna say. I mean, yeah, maybe we're thinking about this wrong. Maybe
yeah,
we're the ones
maybe
who
we
are
should.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, damn it.
Yeah. Have you ever played with double pedal? Like, I guess when you started and
I
stuff,
did,
did you
yeah.
play with double pedal? Yeah.
So my kit I have at home, I ordered that one as a shell pack. So it was the 12, 10, 12, and 14 toms. And then I
Hmm.
added 8 and 16, and then I added another kick drum. Uh, and that was a relief. I don't like double pedal.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I totally get it. And again, a lot of the time I'm forced into positions where, because we generally don't use triggers out front. Well, generally we don't use triggers out front at all. And our front of house guy finds it very hard to make two microphone, especially as we are often using rental backline.
Hmm.
So, you show up and one's a Tama Star Classic, the other one's a Pearl reference. And
Yeah.
one's got an Evans head on it, the other one's got a Remo head on it, and so and it's just impossible. It's impossible to use two kicks when it's not. If it's your own kit, that's absolutely fine. That's not a problem at all. But especially over festival season and all that kind of stuff, it's because we don't use triggers. It's just like, oh god, but I love the feel of two kick drums. It's just so much better.
It is.
It's almost like it was made for it because you've got the left pedal on a double pedal. It has that lag. It has that extra resistance. It's kind of it's weird.
It slips, stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's never exactly the same as the right pedal. Yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah,
And
I
every
knew
time
that was
the angle of the left one is always a bit crooked, I think, if you
yeah,
have a double
yeah,
pedal.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it never feels it. Obviously, it never will, but it never feels like that single pedal on a second kick, does it? Which is just
Oh no.
it's wonderful. Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, that's the quiz. And then again, I've got this last question that I came up with. And then if you can think of a question for whoever my next guest is, I've got a few people booked, but they might rearrange. So I don't know who the next person will be that I'll ask this question to. But yeah, so my question to you is if you weren't a drummer, what do you think you'd be? And that's not like where you'd have to pick something just to make money. It would be like do you have any other passions that if you weren't a drummer, you would go down this road and try and be this thing? If that makes sense.
If if I weren't if I weren't a drummer, I would be a streamer.
Okay. I had an inkling that it might be something like that. And would you stream games?
Since I wouldn't play drums, I couldn't stream drums, so I would probably just stream games. Yes.
Yeah, okay. And how much of your twitching, do you call it twitching? I'm not sure. How much of your twitching is gaming and how much of it is drumming? Like do you do but yeah, I guess you do both on stream.
I do both. I When I'm most active, I do like 2 drum streams and maybe 1 or 2 game streams a week.
Wow, okay. That's
But
cool.
I have been really inactive since it has been a lot of touring, so it's
Mhm.
hard to do
Yeah.
that at the same time. But yeah, that's my main goal. Like do it 3 times a week. Uh, yeah, being online on Twitch, and then yeah, 2 might be drums and 1 might be game, or just 2 or 3 drums. I don't know.
Mm,
Depends on the mood.
that's cool. And what are your games at the moment? What are the games you're playing? Call of Duty, I'm guessing.
Call of Duty, yeah. And but I actually bought Red Dead Redemption 2 again, just
Okay.
to because that's a really nice game.
Mm. And have you been streaming with that as well?
I
Or
will.
you may
I
start
will.
streaming with that. Yeah, cool,
Yeah,
man. Okay.
but the thing is that I already started playing it. so
Oh, yeah, so
so
it's not a full
so
it's not a full thing. Yeah.
yeah, but I might just restart it for the purpose of it, you know, so
Yeah,
everyone can follow the story and stuff.
yeah. That's cool. That's cool, and that
And
kinda makes sense to me.
and it's so cool because you can just sit, and if you're in Warzone, you can just play solo and talk to the chat and stuff like that. And same with Red Dead, you can just play campaign and then play the entire game and just talk to the guys who's watching, and it's
Mm,
super nice way to interact with
yeah. Yeah, that's cool, and
people
I
you
guess you get
don't
to
see.
interact with people that aren't when you're gaming, I guess, too, you get to interact with people that aren't necessarily metal or Amon Amarth fans, and I guess the other way around, when you're drumming,
Yeah.
sometimes people will come into your streams that don't know you as well, and they'll be like, "Oh, who's this guy? He's pretty sick on drums." Like and then, yeah, maybe making new fans and meeting new people and all that kind of stuff. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's super nice. And also, I have my own Discord server,
Mhm.
so fans can join there as well. And I try to meet up with them on tour. Like we go have a
Oh,
cup of
cool, wow.
coffee, we can have a few beers afterwards, maybe, and stuff like that. So not
Wow,
only
that's
is it
cool.
for just another way of following me, but it's a really good way to interact as well, and people really appreciate that.
That's very cool. Yeah, a bit more personal interaction as well.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's cool, man. That's really cool.
I like that.
Yeah, and that's it, man. And we're all done. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks, man. This has been really good fun. Thank you for
Yeah,
coming
it's my
back to
pleasure.
do it again. The internet connection
Anytime.
has seemed very good this time, so fingers crossed we're all good. But yeah, cool. All right, I'll say goodbye now, and then we'll see what happens. Cool. Thanks, dude.
Pleasure.